Formal incident briefings. Verified video proof. Direct accountability. Welcome to Bodycam Incident Reports.
Hands off the keyboard. Who are you?
I'm running night audit. Can I help you, officer?
ID. Now, you don't work here?
I own this hotel.
Yeah? Hands behind your back.
Stop! That's Dr. Sterling. She signs my paycheck.
Oh, wow.
Wait, what? You're about to cuff the owner of the building, officer.
Officer Mark Thorne had patrolled the affluent Magnificent Mile district of Chicago for 19 years. He was a veteran of the force, a field training officer, and a man who prided himself on his instincts. Those instincts told him that a black woman in a hoodie and jeans standing behind the marble front desk of the city's most exclusive boutique hotel at 3:00 a.m. wasn't staff. She was a thief. She was a threat. He had accumulated 41 complaints in his career. 41 separate incidents where black valet drivers, Latino delivery workers, and Asian tourists were detained, frisked, and aggressively questioned while their white counterparts walked past unnoticed. Every complaint had been dismissed by the review board as proactive policing. His sergeant called him aggressive but effective. The police union called him a hero. No one called him what he was. A police officer who could not psychologically process the idea that a black woman could own the building he was standing in. Everything about Mark Thorne's career and immunity was about to shatter against the marble countertop of the Sterling Grand Hotel. Nia Sterling had been in the hospitality industry for 22 years. She started as a housekeeping maid at 16, helping her mother. She earned a scholarship to Cornell's School of Hotel Administration, worked her way up from front desk manager to regional director for Marriott, and then through shrewd investments and tireless work began buying her own properties. That morning, she was the 42-year-old sole owner of the Sterling Grand. She was worth an estimated $40 million. She was wearing a $600 cashmere hoodie and vintage denim because she had come down from her penthouse suite to cover a sick employee's shift herself, rather than wake up her general manager. And to Officer Mark Thorne, that only meant one thing. She looked like a suspect. That false assumption triggered a sequence of events that would end in Thorne's public disgrace, a massive federal lawsuit and a $15 million settlement that would force the Chicago Police Department to rewrite its engagement protocols. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these reveal the cracks in our system, and your support helps us expose the truth. The Sterling Grand Hotel, located on Michigan Avenue, was a beacon of old-world luxury renovated for the modern elite. 12 floors of limestone and glass, a lobby adorned with Italian marble crystal chandeliers that cost more than most family homes, and a reputation for absolute discretion. It was the kind of place where senators stayed during fundraisers and tech billionaires held quiet meetings. Security was subtle but absolute. The hotel prided itself on being a sanctuary. Nia Sterling had bought the property 3 years ago when it was failing. She had gutted it, rebranded it, and turned it into the jewel of the city. She knew every inch of the building from the boiler room to the penthouse. She knew every employee by name. She knew the cost of every towel and the origin of every flower arrangement. She was a hands-on owner. She believed that leadership meant service. If the night auditor called out sick with the flu at 2:00 a.m., Nia didn't call a subordinate. She put on comfortable clothes, took the elevator down, and worked the desk herself. She loved the quiet of the lobby at night. It reminded her of where she started. It was 3:15 a.m. on a rainy Tuesday. The lobby was empty except for Nia, who was typing away at the terminal reconciling the day's accounts. She had a cup of tea steaming beside her. The ambient jazz music played softly. A guest on the 4th floor had called 911 earlier to report a loud argument outside on the street. It was a noise complaint, nothing more. 2 patrol cars responded. One officer checked the street. Officer Mark Thorne decided to check the lobby. He walked in through the revolving brass doors, shaking the rain off his tactical vest. He scanned the room. His eyes landed on the front desk. He didn't see the owner. He saw a black woman in street clothes accessing the hotel's financial terminal. Nia looked up and smiled. "Good morning, officer. Can I help you? The coffee station is fresh if you'd like a cup to warm up." Thorne didn't smile back. He walked straight to the desk, his hand resting on his belt near his taser. "What are you doing back there?" Nia paused, confused by his tone. "I'm running the night audit. Is there an issue outside? We saw the lights." Thorne stopped 3 feet from the counter. He looked her up and down, noting the hoodie, the lack of a name tag, the casual posture. "You're running the audit. Where's your uniform? Where's your ID?" "I don't wear a uniform," Nia said, her voice calm but authoritative. "I'm covering the shift for an employee." "Covering the shift?" Thorne repeated, his voice dripping with skepticism. "Let me see some identification. Driver's license, employee badge, now." Nia felt that familiar prickle of heat on her neck. She had dealt with this before vendors, assuming she was the assistant guests, assuming she was the maid. But this was different. This was a man with a gun and a badge looking at her like she was dirt. "Officer, my purse is in the back office. If you'll give me a moment, I can—" "No," Thorne snapped. "You are not going into the back office. You're going to step away from that computer right now. We've had reports of robberies in the area. High-end hotels getting hit by people posing as staff." "There was no report of a robbery here?" Nia set her hand still on the keyboard. "You're here for a noise complaint on the street. I monitored the call logs." "Don't tell me what I'm here for," Thorne barked. "You're accessing financial records. You have no identification. You're refusing to comply. Step out, now." The lobby wasn't as empty as it seemed. A couple early risers catching a flight had just stepped out of the elevator. They froze near the concierge desk. Mr. and Mrs. Henderson, wealthy patrons from Connecticut. They watched as the officer leaned over the counter, invading Nia's space. "Sir, I am not stepping out," Nia said, her voice hardening. "I own this hotel. My name is Dr. Nia Sterling. You are harassing me in my own lobby." Thorne laughed, a short, sharp, incredulous sound. "You own the hotel, right, and I'm the King of England. Listen to me, lady. I'm not playing games with you. You're coming out or I'm dragging you out for obstruction and trespassing." "I am not trespassing." "You are until proved otherwise, and right now all I see is a suspect refusing a lawful order." Thorne unclipped his handcuffs. The metal rattled against his belt. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." "I will do no such thing." Thorne didn't wait. He reached across the marble counter, grabbing Nia's wrist with a grip that was meant to bruise. He yanked her forward. Nia stumbled her hips, slamming into the edge of the desk. The cup of tea spilled hot liquid, splashing across the polished surface. "Let go of me!" Nia shouted. "Stop resisting," Thorne roared, pulling harder, trying to drag her over the counter. "Officer, stop." The shout came from the elevator bank. It was Julian, the hotel's general manager, who lived in an apartment on the 2nd floor. He had come down because he heard the commotion. Julian was a tall white man in his 50s, wearing a silk robe over his pajamas. He ran across the lobby, breathless. "What the hell are you doing?" Julian screamed. Thorne didn't let go of Nia's arm. He looked at Julian, assuming he had found an ally. "Sir, stay back. I've caught a suspect attempting to access your financial systems. She claims she owns the place. I'm placing her under arrest for trespassing and resisting." Julian's face went pale with horror. He looked at Nia, who was wincing in pain. Her wrist twisted in the officer's grip. "Officer, let her go immediately!" Julian yelled, his voice echoing off the high ceilings. "That is Dr. Sterling. She does own this hotel. She signs my paychecks." Thorne froze. The information hit him, but his ego wouldn't let him retreat. He looked at the black woman in the hoodie, then at the white man in the silk robe. She refused to identify herself. Thorne stammered, his grip loosening but not releasing. "She didn't have ID. She doesn't need ID." Julian stepped closer, placing himself between the officer and the desk. "It's her building. Get your hands off her right now, or I will call the superintendent myself." Thorne finally let go. Nia pulled her arm back, rubbing the red marks forming on her wrist. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She straightened her hoodie, took a deep breath, and looked Mark Thorne dead in the eye. "You thought I didn't look like an owner?" She said, her voice ice cold. "You saw skin color and a hoodie, and you decided I was a criminal. You didn't ask the white couple over there for their ID. You didn't ask my manager for his ID. You just saw me." Thorne took a step back, his hand leaving his handcuffs. He went into damage control mode. "Ma'am, you have to understand. We have protocols. You were behind the counter without a uniform at 3:00 a.m. I was just doing my job. If you had just shown ID, get out, Nia said. I need to file a report regarding the incident. Get out. Nia pointed to the door. You are trespassing on private property. You have assaulted the owner. I am going to call your superiors and then I am going to call my lawyers. Leave my hotel, now. Thorne looked around. The Hendersons were filming with their phones. The security cameras were blinking red in the corners. Julian was glaring at him with pure fury. Thorne turned and walked out into the rain. He radioed dispatch. Code 4 at the Sterling Grand. False alarm. Misunderstandings with staff. He thought that would be the end of it. He thought his badge would protect him. He thought it was just another misunderstanding. He could sweep under the rug of qualified immunity. He was wrong. Do you believe police officers should carry personal liability insurance for misconduct lawsuits? Drop your answer in the comments below. Nia Sterling didn't go back to sleep. She went to the hospital to document the bruising on her wrist. Then she went to her office and called her legal team. By 8:00 a.m., she had retained one of the top civil rights firms in Chicago. She didn't just want an apology. She wanted to expose the rot. Nia filed a formal complaint with the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, COPA, and simultaneously filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Chicago and Officer Thorne personally. The Chicago PD tried to handle it quietly. A captain called Nia offering a formal apology and promising that Thorne would be retrained. They tried to frame it as a regrettable confusion. He was just being zealous in protecting your property, Dr. Sterling. Nia rejected the apology. She released the security footage. The video was silent, but it screamed. It showed a calm woman working. It showed an aggressive officer entering, bypassing the guests, and immediately initiating a confrontation. It showed him grabbing her. It showed the violence in his body language. But here is what made the case explode. Nia's legal team demanded Thorne's disciplinary file during discovery. The city fought to keep it sealed, citing privacy. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Justice Alvarez, overruled them. The file was opened. Over 19 years, Mark Thorne had been the subject of 41 complaints. But the deeper data, the body cam archives that were analyzed by Nia's forensic data team, painted a terrifying picture. In the last 5 years alone, Thorne had conducted 312 field interviews stops where he questioned someone but didn't arrest them. 280 of those stops were Black or Latino individuals. Only 32 were white. Of the 280 minorities, stopped 94% were released without charge because they had done nothing wrong. The data showed a predator with a badge. The investigation uncovered a specific incident from 2 years prior. Thorne had been working security detail at a tech conference. He had tackled a black man in a suit who was trying to enter the VIP lounge, claiming the man looked like a gatecrasher. That man was the keynote speaker. Thorne had been reprimanded, given a day of paid leave, and put back on the street. There was footage of him harassing a Latino bakery owner demanding to see business licenses while customers watched. Footage of him pulling over Asian delivery drivers and searching their cars without probable cause. He had a pattern. He targeted people of color who were working, who were existing in spaces he felt they didn't belong, and he used his authority to humiliate them. Officer Mark Thorne was placed on unpaid suspension 6 weeks after the incident at the Sterling Grand. The video of him grabbing Dr. Sterling had gone viral. The Hendersons, the couple in the lobby, had given sworn statements describing Thorne's aggression as unprovoked and terrifying. But the real blow came during the deposition. Nia's lawyer, a sharp-witted man named David Ross, sat Thorne down under oath. Officer Thorne, why did you assume Dr. Sterling was a thief? She wasn't wearing a uniform. Mr. Julian, the manager, wasn't wearing a uniform either. He was in pajamas. Did you ask him for ID? No. Why not? He seemed to be in charge. Because he was a white man standing next to a black woman. No, I didn't say that. You grabbed Dr. Sterling's wrist within 90 seconds of entering the building. Did she threaten you? No. Did she have a weapon? No. So, You used physical force against a business owner in her own lobby because your bias couldn't calculate that she belonged there. Is that correct? Thorne remained silent. Answer the question, officer. I made a judgment call. It was wrong. It wasn't a judgment call, officer. It was profiling, and we have 19 years of data to prove it. The city of Chicago realized they couldn't win. If this went to a jury with the video, the data, and Dr. Sterling, an articulate, successful, sympathetic plaintiff, they would be destroyed. The jury would see themselves in Nia. They would see the terrifying reality that no matter how hard you work, how much you earn, or what you own, a man with a badge can still treat you like a criminal because of your skin. They settled. $15 million. One of the largest individual settlements for a non-fatal police misconduct case in the city's history. But Nia Sterling didn't stop at the money. She demanded terms. Termination. Mark Thorne was to be fired immediately and stripped of his pension eligibility. Policy change. The Thorne Rule was implemented. Officers responding to non-emergency calls at businesses were explicitly forbidden from detaining employees or individuals claiming to be owners without probable cause of a felony or immediate threat to safety. Public audit. The department had to agree to an external audit of all officers with more than 10 complaints of racial bias, with the results made public. Thorne was fired 3 months after the lawsuit was filed. The Fraternal Order of Police tried to appeal, claiming he was being scapegoated by woke politics. But the video was too damning. The image of him twisting the arm of a terrified woman in a hoodie who turned out to be the owner of the hotel was indefensible. He lost his badge, he lost his career. He is currently barred from working in private security in the state of Illinois. Nia Sterling donated $5 million of the settlement to the Legal Defense Fund and started a nonprofit called the Sterling Initiative, which provides legal representation for minority business owners facing harassment from law enforcement or city officials. But the victory wasn't without scars. Nia still owns the Sterling Grand. She still works the desk sometimes because she loves the hotel, but things have changed. In an interview with the Chicago Tribune, she admitted the lingering trauma. I walk into my own hotel now, and for a split second I check to make sure I have my ID on me. I check to make sure I'm dressed right. I own the deed to the land, but that officer took away my sense of ownership over my own safety. He made me feel like a trespasser in my own life. She paused, wiping away a tear. He looked at me with such certainty. He was so sure I was a criminal. He couldn't see the doctorate, the hard work, the sleepless nights building this business. He just saw a black woman and assumed criminal. That kind of blindness. It's dangerous. It gets people killed. Nia testified before the City Council on police reform. We talk about bad apples, she told the council members. But Mark Thorne had 41 complaints. He wasn't a bad apple hiding in the barrel. He was rotting in plain sight, and the system protected him. Every time you dismissed a complaint from a delivery driver or a valet, you emboldened him. You taught him that his bias was policy, and eventually he felt powerful enough to put his hands on me. The story of Nia Sterling and Officer Mark Thorne isn't just about a settlement. It's about the psychology of power. Mark Thorne represents a terrifying reality in policing the inability to decouple authority from prejudice. He viewed the world through a lens where people of color were inherently suspicious, and white people were inherently innocent. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a worldview that dictated his actions for 2 decades. When he saw the white manager Julian, he saw authority. When he saw Nia, he saw a target. The lesson here is about confirmation bias, weaponized by authority. Thorne entered that lobby looking for a problem. When he saw Nia, his brain filled in the gaps with stereotypes. He didn't ask questions to find the truth. He asked questions to confirm his bias. And because the system had never punished him for it, he believed he was untouchable. It forces us to ask, how many Mark Thornes are out there? How many officers are patrolling right now who cannot conceive of a black doctor, a Latino judge, or an Asian CEO? And if they can't imagine us in positions of power, how can they possibly treat us with equality on the street? We have to move beyond training and move toward accountability. Bias training didn't stop Thorne. Consequences did. Cameras did. A black woman with the resources to fight back did. But what about the victims who don't own hotels? What about the 16-year-old on the corner? What about the delivery driver who fights for them when Officer Thorne decides they don't belong? Nia Sterling stood her ground, not just for herself, but for everyone who has ever been told they fit the description while doing nothing more than living their lives. Officer Thorne is now a civilian. He sells insurance in a suburb 3 hours away. He likely tells his neighbors that he was the victim of a political witch hunt. But the record stands. The judgment stands. Nia Sterling is still the owner of the Sterling Grand. She has implemented a new policy in her hotel. Any police officer entering the premises must check in with security and state their business before approaching guests or staff. She has used her private property rights to create the safety that the police failed to provide. When asked if she forgives him, Nia said this, "I don't need to forgive him. I needed to stop him. Forgiveness is personal. Justice is public. I got justice." The check-in desk at the Sterling Grand is still polished marble. The flowers are still fresh. But now, behind the desk, there is a small framed photo of Nia Sterling smiling, wearing a hoodie. A reminder to every staff member and every guest. This is what an owner looks like. The real question is, what changes now? Do we finally understand that a badge does not grant the right to humiliate? Do we finally demand that officers be vetted not just for physical fitness, but for psychological bias? Because if we don't fix the systems that protected Mark Thorne through 41 complaints, if we don't address the culture that teaches officers to see skin color as a threat indicator, then we are just waiting for the next lobby, the next officer, and the next victim who might not be lucky enough to have a general manager step in before the gun comes out. We need a world where a black woman can stand in her own lobby at 3:00 a.m. without fearing for her life. That shouldn't be a luxury. That should be a right. If you believe officers with a history of racial profiling should be automatically barred from public service, comment accountability below. And if you think stories like Nia's need to be told, hit that like button and share this video. We are going to keep shining a light on these injustices until the darkness has nowhere left to hide. This isn't just about Dr. Sterling. It's about ensuring that dignity isn't determined by zip code bank account or skin color. It's about demanding a justice system that is actually just. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and know your rights. I'll see you in the next one.
This incident file is closed. For more objective footage breakdowns, please like and subscribe. Thank you for supporting Bodycam Incident Reports.